Hello and welcome back. I'm just showing you some of the little things I have to use for flower pots. That one was paper quilled. This is for a vase. It's a wire nut. This is off the top of the water bottles you can buy in the store. This is a big wooden bowl that I have. I thought it'd make a cool looking vase for a table. This is a jug I tried to paper quill, and I'm going to use it as a vase. This is one of those rubbery pieces off of pins that you get nowadays. This is the lid off a chapstick. It's already shiny, so it looks like ceramic. And this is a plastic thing that I cut off of some packaging and have been meaning to use and still haven't. So anyway, today I'm going to show you how I make my long trailing plants, the ones that have the pieces that come out. And these I find on the creeping Jenny plant, which is a very noxious weed, and I don't like the creeping Jenny, but I do like these for making plants that have the long growths on them. I can't think of the name right now. I apologize for my voice because I have got the worst cold ever, and you'll see my hands shaking, and that's because I am very nervous about doing it. I'm sitting here doing this voiceover and my leg is shaking, so yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of DAS air dry clay in the bottom of what I'm using for my planter, which is the little one I showed you first that I paper quilled. This is just a filler. It's not for actually making the plant, but it will provide enough heaviness that your plant won't tip over if you put it on a table. So that's the idea. You know my ideas. So I'm just going to put my clay away, and again I'm going to apologize. This is not my best video, but it's been over 2 months since I've been here. Yeah, so I'm kind of nervous, and tomorrow will be 2 months that Rob's been gone, and the grieving in that, it's not getting any easier. We were so close. Sometimes we were like one person, and I guess that's why he always called us twins born 9 years apart. So first I'm taking the longer pieces. I always do the outside of my plants, especially these, because I want I'm going to call it a vine. It's not really a vine, but I want it to trail down off the side. So I'm taking longer pieces of the little plant I'm using, and at first I did try to stick it in the air dry clay, but the stem part of it is very, very thin, and so it wasn't working exactly right. And here I'm just cutting some off because I didn't want it quite as long as it was. And this is where I'm discovering that I'm having a problem with this, and maybe I should go to step number 2. Now, I didn't let my air dry clay dry all the way, but it will, because I know that I didn't get, you'll see in a few minutes I'm going to put some tacky glue in there just to hold it. And I like the tackier glues with this because once the little plants are dried, the little pieces, they get very lightweight, and it's easy to knock them right back out of there. So I'm going to be putting some tacky glue in here in just a minute, and then I'm going to start the plant over. If you hear any noise in the background, it's my air conditioner. I am supposed to be in the 90s again. This is crazy. The leaves are turning. Yeah, I was going to use the Elmer's glue, but I had a problem with that, and thought better of it that I should probably be using some tacky glue on this instead. So in a sec, I'll get there we go. Okay, I've now put the tacky glue in, and I've started putting my trailing vine part of the plant in because I want those at the bottom. I want them out at the sides, and I want them in first. So that's just kind of what I'm doing here. I was going to say, if you hear any background noise, it's supposed to be in the 90s again. We've had no rain for at least a week. This is crazy. The trees are turning, the leaves are falling. It looks like fall, but it feels like the middle of summer. So crazy weather, and that's why I've got this really bad cold. So again, I apologize for my voice. And I'm just kind of going around the edges of the plant, thinking about where I want the long pieces to go. And I don't want to just line the rim of it with these long pieces, but I do want some sticking down here and there. Nature is beautiful, but she's not perfect, so that's what I'm trying to create, is nature's beauty but non-perfection. But that's what makes all these plants unique, in my opinion. And yeah, and this one turns out pretty cute in the end. A little straggly here and there, but that's plants, you know. You can have two of the same plant and they don't look the same. So, kind of what I'm going for. So as you can see now, I'm starting to fill in the middle with some smaller pieces, and I use my smaller pieces for the middle because they're not going to come up and trail out like the ones on the side. They're like a kind of like a filler. So I'm just going to start sticking those in there. I mean, you can leave as many long vines off your plant as you want, or you can have just a couple. That's the beauty of doing this. And amazingly, once these are dried, they are very sturdy. I didn't lose too many pieces off of them while I was doing this. I mean, some of them, some plants you get, they'll just crumble when they're once they're dried. And I have coated everything with Mod Podge once it's dry. I think I showed that to you in a different video. And so I did not do that with these. I am just cutting all the smaller pieces and putting them into the little plant. Up on top, I'm filling a few in at the sides. And your plants can be as full as you want, or maybe it's one that you just started and it's just starting to go. This one is going to be one that's grown for quite a while and probably needs a new pot, or you need to propagate it and start another plant off of it, because it does end up quite full in the end. I don't know how many of you are like me. You get started on something, you get going with it, and you just want to keep adding and adding and adding. And if you have other little plants, you can add flowers to it. This is just going to be a green plant, just a little green hanging plant. And as I said, when it's done, you can pretty much see that it really probably should be divided, or whatever you can do with a plant like this. But it's going to be a nice full one. And these are great if you make little hanging planters. You know, if you turn your pot into a hanging planter because you want to see the vines trail off, or if you had something like what they used to call studio tables back at the turn of the last century, right, 1800s and 1800s. They're just little tiny tables. They're not very big. And so if you have a very big plant, it's going to just take up the top of the table and just kind of drape down over the sides. And I haven't decided yet if I want to make a hanging planter for this, or if I want to at some point create a studio table so that I can put the plant on that. I don't even know which house it's going in. That's kind of where I'm at. I mean, it could go in any of the houses I have, but yeah, we'll see. And you know, you can make a bunch of these, and you could put little flowers in them and like maybe stick them out on your porch in hanging baskets. That would be cute. There's just so much you can do with these. And I know right now this probably looks like a hot mess, and I was thinking that while I was creating it, but I did one in the little scene I showed you for my friend Tracy, and I've done a couple other ones of these, and I think they really turn out cute once they're all done. I'm trying to figure out where to stick that one in at. Tweezers would probably be a good thing for doing this. I'm not very good with tweezers, but so anyway, while I'm waiting for that to dry a little bit, and I do stress you should let it dry in between putting things in. I didn't for the sake of the video because I needed to get it up. I was supposed to do it Monday, and then I went to Zoe's volleyball game, which was in Brookings, South Dakota, and yesterday I was just so sick with this stupid cold that honestly I didn't feel like doing anything, and I didn't get a lot done. But I'm still thinking that, I got this video, but then it was like, oh, it's so late. And you guys are used to me on Wednesdays, so I thought, well, for now we'll just keep going with Wednesday instead. So that's the plan. I'm just coating this with some antique gold ceramic or metallic paint. I thought the bowl would look at that color, and I like it when it turns out. I'm just doing this while I'm giving that glue a little bit of a chance to dry. Making sure I get up on the edge of the rim of the bowl and down in a little bit so that when my plant's in there, if there's a gap, you're not going to see it. You're not going to see where it was a wooden bowl that I painted gold. And the other thing that you can do with these, now I didn't do it with my plant I'm making because it doesn't show, but if you had a more sparse plant, you could use coffee grounds or tea out of a tea bag or anything like that to use for your dirt inside. And I will be doing that when we get on to doing some other plants. I only did the one for the video today simply because I haven't been back for so long, and as I said, I'm very nervous. Now what I'm going to do while I'm waiting for that to dry more is I've got these other little plants, and I'm going to start painting the little flowers on them. They were yellow when the plant bloomed. They're a little weed that grew up through my sidewalk, so I don't even know what it's called, but they have these little yellow flowers on them, and I decided I don't want the yellow flowers. I would like to have a different color, so I'm painting them with a paint that's called Wine that I've had forever and I need to use up, and I think it's going to make some really pretty little flowers. So I'm just kind of doing that, and don't be afraid to paint your little flowers. When I did the little tiny flowers off the yarrow, I used permanent marker on those. And it's a very fiddly process, I kid you not. However, it is well worth it because you can have whatever color flowers you want when you do this. So I'm just painting those, and I think you can see from them laying down there that they're now a dark wine color instead of the yellow. But yeah, very fiddly process, but so worth it in the end. And I've left the little leaves on these because the leaves are going to be the leaves of the plant. They're tiny enough. So that's what we're doing here. I want to thank everyone for hanging in there with me. This has been probably the most horrible experience of my life, and there's so much temptation just to walk away from everything, to sell the house, move, stop doing YouTube, all that. I mean, everything crosses your mind because you're like, what am I going to do? What should I do? What's the right thing to do? But I'm going to go do what as a friend suggested and give it a year and see where I'm at in a year. I know I'm going to be feeling just as bad. I know the grieving is never going to end. So what I'm doing now, and I'm sorry I'm off camera, but I really needed to see, is I am taking tacky glue and I'm putting it on the side of my pot, and I'll show you in a minute, and then I'm going to start pushing the long trailing vine part of this plant down onto the side of the pot so that they drape down instead of just sticking straight out like you see them doing. What I do is, like I said, I take the tacky glue, I stick it to the side of the pot under where I want my vine to trail, and then I push it down and hold it until the glue grabs, and that will make your vines bend over the side of your pot and look like hopefully how you want it. And again, off camera, I'm sorry, I really need to get these in the right spots because it doesn't, the tacky glue doesn't grab right away, so you'll be wanting to go back and push it down and see what you're doing. And see here, I'm just pushing that one down. I'm pushing it down into the tacky glue, and as you can see, they're starting to stick down and grow in a more natural position instead of just sticking straight out. And I do leave a couple doing that because I feel they're probably at the stage in the plant's life where it's grown those, but they're not quite ready to start really draping over the sides yet. So you'll see a few that look a little messed up, and so yeah, so I set it down on this paint so that I could see if it was draping nicely, and it is, but I've still got a little ways to go with my gluing. And I thought maybe I could glue it on top of that, but because I was shaking so bad, but it just didn't work. So I am going to show you the finished plant. The sides are draping down. I may go back and glue some, maybe not. I want to thank you for joining me, and I will be back next week with some more plants. Thank you all. Bye-bye.